Seiko entered the diving watches game back in the mid-1960s, and this seemed to be a good decision on their part. They were reasonably priced and they were functional, with bold dials featuring luminous chapters. A decade later, they released a new model with a 45 by 38mm case, and it featured a screw-down crown and had a super tough glass. Now, this watch featured their 6309 automatic mechanical movement, and due to its rather unique shape, this watch was referred to by some as the Seiko Turtle, and these were produced for, well, over 10 years before Seiko discontinued them. A few years ago, Seiko took the decision to re-release the Seiko Turtle in several variants, but the one we're interested in today is a special edition, a Seiko Prospex PADI, that's a Professional Association of Diving Instructors, and it has the iconic blue and red, or Pepsi, rotating bezel. It's model SRPA21K. Now, this is a watch that I've been interested in owning for quite some time now. I just like the look of it, but never got round to purchasing one. However, whilst I was searching for one, I could not really help but notice quite a few being sold at very low prices indeed. And in fact, this watch usually retails between $400 and $500 US. I was spotting them for more like $70 US. But of course, if a deal is too good to be true, well, quite often it won't be true. However, I thought I'd just order one anyway, to just see what you're going to get for $70 US. Now, as opposed to the $533 US that I did spend on a genuine one. Now, you might ask why I paid $533 when there are better bargains to be had with this model. Well, the main reason is I ordered the watch direct from Seiko Official in Thailand, which made it a little bit more pricey, but I was at least assured that the product would be legit. Now, I ordered them both on the same day. They both actually turned up a few days later, well packaged and ready to wear. So what's the point of this video? Well, the point of the video is to highlight the differences between the genuine Seiko and the fake Seiko. Now, I'm sure that most Seiko collectors would spot a fake from 10 meters away, but hopefully some of you will learn something through this video, and perhaps this would help to prevent some of you from being scammed. But for the record, the fake was presented to me as a genuine product, using photographs of the real version, and it was advertised as being made in Japan. It is only the price of the watch which alerted me to suspect that it was a fake. But the scary thing is, if it was sold at a competitive price closer to the RRP, I may well have gone for it. I mean, this should give you something to think about when you're purchasing from untrusted sources online. But enough waffling, I've got a few surprises for you, especially when we open and take a look at the insides of this fake model. So let's get into the comparison. And first we'll start with the fake. As mentioned, it was sent out and received within a few days, and here we can see the box, which looks pretty standard. But if I open the box, I'm presented with an unexpected free gift, a sample tester of Smelly. The next thing we see is the plastic bag, which contains a replica certificate of guarantee, and the lazy gits didn't even fill it in. And along with the product tag, which is in the styling of a standard Seiko tag and not the Prospex, there is also included the worldwide guarantee and instructions booklet. Opening the box, we can see that the watch itself is sitting on a felt cushion, and I have to say, this box is terrible. On the real watch, here is my invoice just to show you. I really did purchase this directly from Seiko HQ here in Thailand. They also sent me a free gift, a Seiko branded face mask, a lot more useful than the dodgy Smelly. Here we have a properly filled in and stamped certificate, and the serial number suggests that this watch was manufactured in February 2020, so still warm off the production line. They also included a polishing cloth, the generic guarantee and instruction booklet, and the specific instruction book for the family of the movement fitted to this watch, which is incidentally caliber 4R36, but we'll go into that shortly. So here are both boxes for comparison, and straight away it's apparent that the genuine Seiko box is of a much higher quality. The watch is found to be snugged up on a silky cushion. And for comparison, here they both are next to each other, the fake being on the right. Now before we look a little bit deeper, let me turn off the lights and let you see the difference between the two dials in regards to luminescence. And as you can see, the genuine Seiko's Lumi Bright is showing the fake up really. And here is the lume spot on the bezel. You can see that it's quite raised. The lume spot on the genuine is flushed with the bezel. And speaking of the bezel, here we can see quite a difference between the two. The red portion of the fake bezel reaches to marker 15, whereas the red portion on the genuine Seiko actually reaches to marker 20. Aside from this, the bezels looks very similar, but they do not feel similar. I mean, let me explain. When I rotate the bezel of the genuine watch, it feels very tactile and, dare I say, premium. The ratcheting clicks feel smooth and there is no slop when attempting to reverse the direction. Yes, this is a unidirectional bezel, and the ratchet divisions seem to be in half-minute intervals. In contrast, the fake bezel sounds and feels way more clunky. The ratchet division seems to be in 1-minute intervals, and there is an awful slop between those divisions. Listen to both one after the other. Okay, now let's take a look at the crowns, and I'll start by unscrewing the crown on the fake. Now it feels a little bit rough, but not too bad. But taking a closer look at the pendant tube threads, they do look very rough, and I suspect that the crown threads would end up stripping prematurely. In contrast, the genuine crown feels way smoother to loosen, and the threads look very clean and well finished, and the crown itself is of a much better finish. Here's a comparison. Now let's take a look at the dial, and here we have the genuine watch, the dial being a striking blue colour with a slight sunburst effect. To the naked eye it looks beautiful, however the macro lens does expose a flaw or two. You can see the E in the Seiko is not perfect, but in reality this cannot be observed unless you're examining this under a high magnification as we're doing here. But you can also observe the minute hand has a small imperfection in the lume. Perhaps it was an air bubble, but again, not visible to the naked eye. We have 6 lines of text, the Seiko logo followed by the Prospex logo, and this is followed by the PADI collaboration logo, and then the words automatic and divers 200 meters. All of this matches the fake until we get to the bottom line. On the genuine, the dial number starts with 4R36, and this is representative of the movement caliber installed. But on the fake, we have NH36, which is representative of a different movement. We'll get into that more later. But here we can see the seconds hand was not cleaned properly before assembly. The luminous painting on the dial chapters is quite rough around the edges, although this is hard to see unless under magnification. But the worst part for me was the misaligned calendar. It's possible that the dial feet can be adjusted to correct this, but finally you may have noticed that there is a green hue to the dial color, and the red 5-minute markers are, well, they're a little bit thinner on the fake. Okay, let's take a look at the metal strap, and we shall start with the fake. The release buttons feel strong enough, and the clasp opens to reveal the expected Z clasp stamping. It's a little bit rough, there's some scratches, and the underside of the fold-over snap is quite rough where the Seiko logo was stamped in. The press buttons on the genuine Seiko also feel nice and strong, and as I open the clasp, although it is the same stamping, the finish is much better. I'll just remove the spring bar on the fake clasp so that we can take a closer look at the push clip housing. And here we can see what looks like dried grease, but I'm not really sure, could be anything. Removing the same spring bar from the genuine Seiko, I find it to be much sturdier than the ones used in the fake. And here we can see the genuine clasp is much cleaner, but in reality, well, they both feel very similar in operation. The genuine strap is stamped with its model number, whereas the fake does not have any number stamped. And you can see here that the fake strap seems to be quite a bit longer than the original. However, the genuine strap does have a wetsuit extension where the fake doesn't. Now I'm going to be careful here as I only have metal calipers, but I'm going to measure the cases. I can see that the genuine and the fakes are both 45mm wide, but the genuine is 13.8mm thick, including the tsunami embossment, and the fake is 13.3mm thick, including the same tsunami embossment. And speaking of the tsunami logos, let's take a closer look at the backs before we open these up and compare the movements. And I'll remove the plastic protection film from the fake, and we can see the Seiko logo above the tsunami logo. The case number is at odds with the dial number. If you remember, the dial did start with the number NH36, and here we have the case number starting with 4R36, which is what we would expect. Aside from the embossed tsunami logo, the rest actually looks laser etched and, well, pretty shoddy. The grain lines kind of remind me of an LP record. Removing the protective film from the genuine case back, we can see that the tsunami logo looks nice and clean. The quality of the writing is much better and the grain is far superior. Oh, one other thing to note here is the end lugs on the straps. Now, I already mentioned that the genuine strap has its model number stamped on the end pieces. Here you can observe that the fake strap has cutouts in order to aid the removal and fitting of the spring bars, but the genuine one does not have these cutouts. And here we can see again the spring bars attaching the strap to the genuine Seiko are far more substantial than the ones securing the fake strap. Okay, the time has come to open them up, but let's just take a quick look at their respective performances. And starting with the fake, we can see the performance is actually not too shabby considering. Let's take a look at the genuine watch. So the performance is definitely better, but to be fair, the fake was actually pretty decent. It was a little bit lower, but not disastrously lower. The back was only slightly better than hand tight with the fake watch, but by contrast the back on the genuine watch was super tight. So here we are with the movement in the fake watch. The first thing to notice here is the oscillating weight. It looks a little bit strange, but it is marked up with the caliber number being 4R36A, as we might expect. But this is at odds with the dial number starting with NH36, but it lines up with the case number starting with 4R36. So which one is it? However, there is something screwy with this weight. But here's the genuine Seiko, and yes, clearly the weight is different a little bit. But also notice the writing does not line up the same. Here's a side-by-side for comparison. You can observe here that the printing of the Seiko logo is bolder on a genuine watch, but with the lower line of text being more condensed. And you'll notice that the fake has the word Japan appended to the end of the lower line. Another thing I notice is the movement spacer ring. It's grey with the fake, but black with the genuine Seiko. But getting back to the weight on the fake, it does seem to be somehow loose. It's bugging me, and so I'm going to check this out a little bit further. So here I've removed the weight, and I guess I should remove this hair. But looking closely at the weight, can you spot anything wrong here? Aside from the hair and the weird tribal tattoos. Now let me take off the genuine weight and we shall compare them properly. Well, the genuine weight is indeed missing the hair and the tattoos, but it also is absent another strange artifact. Yes, the weight in the fake Seiko has a thin piece of metal laminated to it, with double-sided sticky tape no less, in what looks like a desperate attempt to fool people further into believing that this is a genuine 4R36A based Seiko. This is actually quite priceless. So what do we have? An NH36A. It seems the dial wasn't lying after all. Well, not all of the dial in any case. So what are the differences between the NH36 and the 4R36? Well, not very much at all. The Hattori NH36 movement is Japanese designed, and as far as I'm aware, all the individual parts that make up the NH36 and the 4R36, well, they're identical. With the exception of the oscillating weight having different manufacturer markings, the 4R36 weight is marked Seiko Time Corp and the NH36 is marked SII, which stands for Seiko Instruments Incorporated. So both movements are made by the Seiko group of companies. The 4R36 movements are assembled for their in-house watches, as far as I'm aware, and the NH36 movements are intended for other watch companies to purchase wholesale and use in their designs. Whether these NH36 movements are assembled in-house by Seiko or not is something I'm not clear on. Perhaps somebody with more knowledge on this can let us know in the comments below. But then this watch is a fake, so maybe the NH36 movement here is also a fake, right? Well, that is possible, maybe it is a fake. But Seiko does sell these movements very cheap in the first place, and comparing the two movements side by side, you'd be hard pressed to actually find a real difference, especially with the finish. The weight being the exception, obviously, but the grain on the automatic bridge here is absolutely identical to the 4R36, and the colour of the plating on the brass components, well, that also looks pretty identical. I suppose the only other difference that we can see here is the movement spacer ring, which is grey on the NH36 and black on the 4R36. But compare this to the Chinese clone of the ETA 2824 we looked at in a previous video, and you can see a huge difference in quality. Here we see absolutely zero difference. I would wager that even this hair was even left there by the dodgy mafia group who put this fake together, rather than the original assembler of the movement itself. But let's take stock. The main things which set this fake apart from the genuine Seiko. Well, the box was poorly manufactured. Seiko boxes generally, they're much higher quality. The loom was a lot weaker. The red section of the bezel runs to 15 rather than 20 on the original. But this is not an absolute indication of the watch being a fake. I've seen pictures of fakes online where the red portion does indeed reach the 20-minute marker. The loom spot on the bezel is pronounced rather than flush. The bezel ratchets at minute intervals rather than half minutes, and it's much smoother on the original. It's quite rough on the fake. The screw-down crown and the threads are poorly finished. The dial number starts with NH36 rather than 4R36. The dial colour is slightly off. The general finish of the strap is quite poor. There is no strap number. The spring bars are of a lower quality. The strap has no wetsuit extension. The quality of the finish of the watch back is poor. And a dodgy attempt was made to hide the fact that this is an NH36 movement rather than a 4R36. And then, of course, there's the price. The general rule should be, if a deal looks too good to be real, it probably isn't. Oh, and one last bonus fact. You will usually find that the Saturday text on the calendar day ring of a genuine Seiko would be blue in colour. The Saturday text on this fake here is not blue. Fake watches would always be a part of life. We like quality products and especially like obtaining those products at bargain prices. But if a watch usually retails for 30 grand plus and it's being offered to you for $100 and you believe them, then being ripped off is part of the game that you're playing and you have nobody to blame except for yourself. But you could equally argue that some people buy them simply because they like the design and they would never in a million years be able to afford the original. But what makes this fake different that we've seen today is it's very convincing to the point that the assembler has even tried, quite poorly, to mask the fact that it's an NH36 rather than a 4R36. Although these particular dominoes neglected to mask the NH36, which was clearly marked on the dial anyway. The point is, I'm convinced that these fake turtles in particular are made with the sole purpose of ripping people off. They're being sold as original and sometimes at the same price as the originals, and I would guess that, well, many people are walking around with one of these watches on their wrist today and not suspecting in the very least that it's a fake. They look and feel real. So in conclusion, if you're looking to purchase one of these online, then make sure that the vendor that you choose has a very good history of positive feedback, or purchase from a reputable online store or jeweler. And if you've recently purchased one and you are worried, then examine the watch carefully under magnification and check your model against the issues that I found. But that's it for this video. What do you think? Did I miss any other details out that may help people? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It is probable that a seasoned Seiko collector would not be fooled, but would a casual watch buyer be hoodwinked by this one? I think it's maybe possible, and that's why I made this video. Would you like to see me further strip and examine this fake Seiko? Let me know in the comments and perhaps we can do that in a future video. But thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.